All right, Frank, thank you very much for taking your time for this podcast invitation and conversation, but also especially to invite me here to Salzgitter and really showing me firsthand on site what the innovation is about that you're about to bring to our field. Before we jump into the details on the things that I see here in Salzgitter, how did you find into the field of batteries, and what is the current situation here at PowerCo and the projects that you're juggling?
Yeah, the situation right now is we are close to produce the first production samples over here.
Mm-hmm.
After we have produced on this equipment already close to the supplier of the equipment with our material, with our people, we have already produced 100,000 samples. And now it's getting to production location, production material, our people, logistics, everything is finally according to what the customer wants for final testing, and then we will launch the plant into mass production and sell the cars to end customers. Yeah, quite exciting. Yeah, quite exciting, but challenging.
I think these are really critical times if we look at the global landscape of e-mobility and energy storage. So batteries are becoming more and more important in every aspect of our life. And I think PowerCo takes a pretty pivotal role right now, considering the breakdown of Northvolt and to deliver battery cells from Europe. So can you just with me take a step back and look at the situation Europe is in right now and where PowerCo places in there and which problems and challenges PowerCo tries to address right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that it is very essential to have the technology in the Western world. Yeah, so people were buying Volkswagen cars, Audi cars, Porsche, Skoda. They had all our brands. Yeah,
Yeah.
not to name everybody in the group because the cars are great, the design is good. And also the combustion engine and the transmission is what the customer wants. And to translate this into EVs, the battery cell technology is what the combustion engine was before. It is the customer wants range, the customer wants good cost, the customer wants charging performance and acceleration. Whatever you want from an EV is very much driven by the design of the battery cells.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you have to make sure you have this technology under control if you want to stay in the business.
Mm-hmm. So from the technological point of view, are we ready to deliver the products? And for that, are we already in place with the production equipment that is needed in order to deliver the cells? Or are we still relying on the global economics, sourcing cells from outside? I mean, this is a question also addressing the VW concern and yeah. So if you can shine light on that.
Yeah, finally, of course, you have to be competitive, yeah, in cost and in technology. And if we would do it just to do it, more expensive, worse technology, then nobody will buy the cells. Yeah, so of course it's a challenge to get there, and the market is very much developed in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys made a great job in the last decades to set it up and to build it up. But I would say we are on a good way to, with new technologies, with the right products, with the right team, to become more and more competitive in the next years. And we want to be a technology leading player. And that means not only, the best, that means also the costs are under control.
Mm-hmm. Because you're of course not doing it for the sake of it, but as you mentioned, you're striving for the competitive advantage. So what is the advantage that you foresee, the competence and the potential that you bring to the market that gives you the right to be a big player in the future on the battery market?
Finally, of course, you have to develop innovations. You have to develop innovations to become on a fast track of the business, and you need to develop what the customer wants to have. And this is, You know, the EVs are selling well if they are not too expensive. If the
Mhm.
EVs are on a price level of a comparable combustion engine driven car, people buy EVs.
Yeah.
If they are more expensive, it's getting difficult. So we have to focus very much on the cost of the product. On the other hand, you know, the last big disadvantage of an EV is the charging speed. So you can fill up the car with gasoline much faster than today than charging it. You know, I charge a car typically at home, so I don't care. It's charged overnight. For me, it's 2 seconds to plug the plug, and that's it.
Yeah.
But this is just one example on where we work on. We have cells on the test bench, what we can charge already around 10 minutes or even faster. We have new chemistries on the bench where we can get rid of expensive materials, and all that is in our product portfolio, and all that has to be finally, of course, also accepted by the customer, and then we roll it out.
Mhm. So you're talking about the unified cell, and critical voices of our field say it's not possible to build one cell for many applications. Can you tackle that comment?
Yeah, this is right. Yeah, the unified cell concept is to make sure that we do not reinvest the complete production plant from one car to the next because we change the geometry of the cell.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have developed is a geometry setup, and it's even not one geometry; it's variations.
Mm-hmm.
But we can produce these on our production equipment. And if we want to go for an LFP cell entry model, relatively inexpensive, performance is a compromise, then of course we can produce this in the plant. And if we want to go for a high performance cell, high energy density, fast charge, we can also produce these in the same plant. What makes it flexible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, flexibility is never for free. Yeah, but to reuse the big investments is very, very important if you wanna make sure the business finally pays back.
Mm. So the production line that you set up currently is aimed, as you said, to produce the geometry.
Mm-hmm.
We're able to alter the cell chemistry, but if we think one step ahead in terms of the innovation that QuantumScape, for example, is delivering, meaning all solid-state batteries, how does that play in there? So would we see a new production design there, or do we have a drop-in?
It's a drop in, yeah. And I can give you one example. Of course, everybody talks about sodium. We
Mm.
have the first sodium cells on the test bench, and we produce these in our labs, in our sample line you have seen this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So this is possible already. And talking about QuantumScape, the basic production system is the same. Of course, you don't need graphite coating on the anode side because there's no graphite any longer.
Sure.
But the basic production system is the same, and with that, it's possible to do this as a drop-in on the same equipment. You have to modify. Yeah, it's not, you know, changing it in the existing production line just by rebuild. Yeah, you have to change a few things, but more than 70% of the investment is existing, will stay, and will just move on, also for solid state.
Okay. You mentioned competition and cost advantages. I mean, Germany and Europe, as such, are quite expensive locations to build a factory in. The degree of automation must be very high in order to be competitive. Can you explain from the product side, material side, component side, but also from the process side, which are the levers that you pull in order to be competitive?
All levers, yeah. So the bill of material is
Mhm.
is driving the business case very much, yeah. So 80%, if we talk about an NMC cell, 80% of the cost is the bill of material, the materials.
Mhm.
And of course, the purchasing guys and also the R&D guys need to do a lot of things right to make sure we are competitive on that one.
Mhm.
We benchmark ourselves frequently. We do value engineering calculations to see are we on track or not. And there's a lot of focus on on the materials, of course,
Mhm.
cost-wise. But you also have to check, is the headquarter, the overhead, does it fit to the revenue? You also have to get into the cost, the plant production costs,
Mhm.
and this is, energy consumption, people, labor, of course,
Yes.
but people, and you need to modify wherever possible and this has to go also with continuous improvement from year to year. It's
Mm.
really important. It's not the one thing, it's everything, and we focus very much on making sure that the business case is performing, over time, getting better and better. Because if not, if you can buy this product somewhere else for a better price, you will always, you can say, okay, we are strategic investment, whatever, but then it's very difficult to stay in the business,
Mhm.
up to impossible.
Mhm. In terms of production technology, what are the innovations that you're pushing forward right now? I know that you were involved in dry coating, for
Mm.
example. In our last conversation last year, we talked about increasing the speed of stacking to a significant degree. I also went through your line and saw a lot of stackers, really impressive machines. So, what are the innovations that you would like to highlight here?
Yeah, there are a lot. Of course, there are a few in the design of the cell. Like you mentioned solid state, I mentioned sodium, and
Mm.
there are others. I don't tell you everything today. And in the production process, fast stacking is important.
Mhm.
That's a big portion of the investment. Aging is something we work on because this is cost of capital, this is risk. Because if you have a systematic failure and you figure this out after a week of aging or 2 weeks of aging,
Certainly.
this could be a big amount of scrap you have to then write off. And the whole production pipeline, including dry coating, is under review.
Mhm.
We're working stepwise. So the first plant is more or less using what is state of the art. The second plant in Valencia in Spain will have already some process innovations, and then the plant coming after that in Canada also will get a next generation setup.
Mhm.
We will prove everything in Salzgitter,
Mhm.
to make sure we can release and there's no risk for the product or the customer or even the customer. But there's a lot of pressure in the system to bring these innovations step by step.
Mhm. Yeah, Salzgitter, as such, from a strategic point of view, is kind of the pivotal hub for the innovation, right? This is how I understood it, that here you test, you research, you innovate,
Hmm.
and then you roll out to the other two locations that are
Mm.
in the making right now.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And of course, if you are in this business, you have to work a lot with the suppliers,
Mm.
equipment and material, and you have to figure out what they are willing to bring or what their roadmap is, and then you have to again fit it into our product portfolio, into our strategy. So it's not we invent everything ourselves. There's a lot ongoing in the market, and it's for the R&D team. It's very important that they know what's going on and what we can bring at what time to the product.
Mm. Talking about the experience that the Asian machine builders and, as you mentioned, also material suppliers have, and then looking at the European ecosystem. On the expedition, I have by now visited 35 places and talked to a bunch of leaders
Wow,
in our field. Yeah, I'm 10,000 kilometer today
wow,
on that trip
wow!
in 2.5 months. So that's kind of
With
the
an EV,
with an
impressive,
EV, with an EV. And I have to
impressive.
say, maybe a side note, I didn't have one single charging issue, not one. And
Mm.
I also went to Slovakia, for example, and other European countries where you would assume that it must be more challenging. No.
I drive 60,000 kilometers a year with an EV, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Europe, no problem. Also, North America, it's very developed. China is absolutely easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So to all the petrol heads out there, get an EV.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but what I was going to talk about is that during my visits, I also visited many machine suppliers, for example, and they always have the opinion that they have the competence to deliver. And what they lack is yet the experience and the proof that they can build it on scale. What would you tell them needs to happen, or how can we near each other in order to speed our European collaboration to also include them more in the build-up of new gigafactories in the future?
Yeah, I think to redevelop the wheel is difficult. If you see the big players in Asia
Yeah.
doing quotas, calendars, we have a player for calendars in Germany too,
Mm.
but most of the business is in Asia, even Stacker, yeah, and Formation. This is to redevelop this in Germany or in Europe, yeah, with the labor costs we have, and then just modify details and being competitive is probably almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have to come with innovations, and this was always the strength of the machinery companies in Germany and in Europe. And process innovations will change the picture. So same for product innovations, what needs new processes because uh, it requires a different setup
Mm-hmm.
of production equipment. And this is a chance for the existing, or even new machinery players in Europe. Yeah, I
Mm.
see. Lithium-ion technology is relatively old, but for the small cells we use every day in our cell phones, in our watches, cameras, laptops, the cost pressure wasn't that high.
Mm.
For a car, it's very high, and it's also the performance is totally different to what is existing, and there are different possibilities to modify the product, and that requires new processes.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a lot of sense to really learn from the best if you are an existing machinery company, to understand how they do it and then react with a new product design or a new process idea on what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I'm very much looking forward to the impulses that you give our industry on how to innovate, because you will set uh, the requirements for the next generation of battery production, I think. Um, and yeah, we'll see if European, if German build machine builders and suppliers can take up that call and deliver. And that is also why I'm doing this expedition, to share the information. Of course, what can be shared, because there are things that are confidential, of course. But to give an understanding of what needs to happen to everyone steer in the right direction, in the same direction, to build the European battery ecosystem. So on this expedition, I asked 3 questions that I ask everyone,
Hmm.
and that will go into a documentary um, showing towards political stakeholders, but also towards investors, um, what the competence in Europe is. But I want to do it in a reflected way. And therefore, I want to start with the first question. What are the challenges in Europe that you see in our industry at the moment that are holding us back?
Good question. I would say other countries are developing the market very much with subsidies,
Mm-hmm.
and the global um, picture is not fitting into a general picture for the globe. Yeah, so if I see, probably North America will stick to oil and combustion engines.
Mm-hmm.
If they move on like they do right now, China will be fully electrified relatively quick. And if we want to do cars in the future, we have to be able to do both. Yeah, but we also have to invest into new technologies, and this is the picture right now is um, very much also driven by subsidies. What means we have to be faster, better, to run in Europe with less or without subsidies,
Mm-hmm.
to compete with the Asian giga players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what is the solution? Yeah, the solution is to learn from the best, spot-wise show up with innovations, with that being competitive, and sooner or later pass by with new generations of chemistry, technology, system architecture, whatever finally is an asset or an advantage for the customer.
Mhm. I mentioned politics and the finance industry. What is their role in this? How big is their part in solving these challenges?
Yeah, it's really big. Yeah, so of course we have to do the job. Yeah, as a cell supplier, as PowerCo, also the OEMs, our group, our mother company, Volkswagen. We have to do the jobs. We have to show up with the right products.
Mm.
The environment we are in right now, especially in Europe, is not that easy.
Mhm.
Building the plant in Germany, in comparison to Canada, for example, needs much more. Um, to give you one example, fire protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very much a cost increase, and you know, I guess we do the things really perfect in German, but we also do it too complicated. Yeah, this is everything is regulated. Of course, this protects environment, people, but there has to be a balance to make sure that finally it fits into a business case and it fits into. And I'm not saying we do something dangerous, no,
Yes, I
but
know.
we have to do something. We have to be quicker. We have to be more pragmatic. Yeah, this was the strength of Germany for decades.
Mhm.
We have to make sure that we get back into something like this. Stop discussion about what is the best thing, what is the right thing. Go into execution and really working together between industry and politicians in a pragmatic way to finally succeed the business is what we have to do now.
Yeah, understand. The message towards investors, what would attract them more? What different signals should we send? I mean, politics plays a big role there to give the security and the safe fence around the ecosystem, right? But is there anything else that we need to know where you think like this is what investors are looking for in order to see Europe as an attractive market again?
An investor wants a payback. Yeah. So
Hmm.
if you invest your money into whatever, you plan to get more money back than you put in, right?
Yeah,
This is
a
always
straightforward answer. Yeah.
yeah. So finally, you have to tell the investor that he's getting a strategic advantage. If it is a strategic investor like another OEM, like Volkswagen Group, yeah,
Yes.
that is technology driven, and a financial investor wants to see an advantage in return on capital. Finally,
Yeah.
that can come from company value. That can come also from just discounted cash. Yeah.
Hmm.
So discounted cash is easy calculation. Yeah. But a business like ours with the level of investments we have to do is a difficult case, especially if the competitors can work with subsidies. So we have to show up with good cost control,
Hmm.
and finally getting the order book in place, profitable order book in place, and this was the first step we had to work out and we made. But then, of course, we have to show up with new technology. What has to be something the customer really wants, and then we are attractive for both strategic and financial investors because the value of the company is very much related to two things: profitability and future strategy. What is innovations?
Hmm. Okay. So note it down. Positively framed. If we look at the potential that Europe has, I mean, we are a big ecosystem. That is what I see on the expedition, but we need to connect it. That's my take on this, my experience so far. But what is your perspective on the European potential that we can leverage in order to build this industry?
Yeah, it's enormous. Yeah, so this is if we talk about cars, we can calculate the figures. This is incredible big, and one company like PowerCo cannot do it. Yeah, so there will be Asian companies invest into Europe. There will be probably more startups getting into the business to finally make sure the market is getting what the market needs.
Hmm.
On top of that, we have stationary batteries. to support regenerative energy. Today, we switch off wind turbines or solar panels.
Yes.
What doesn't make sense, because if we then go at night without solar, or if the wind is gone, we have to switch on gas turbines. Yeah, so that could be covered by batteries too. Of course, for that also total cost of ownership is important. Cost, again, cost have to be under control. But then finally, it's an investment what will pay back. And this, we will see a lot of batteries in the future. There will be gigawatts all over the place, gigawatt hours all over the place, to make sure regenerative energy finally works out. Cars are moving,
Yeah.
trucks are moving. This is the best technology to make sure we get our CO2 footprint under control.
Mhm. So, final question. If you would have one advice to our industry, to all stakeholders out there, what would it be?
Invest into battery technology with focus on CO2 footprint,
Mhm.
and bring the supply chain to Europe.
Okay. Thank you, Frank, for this open, honest conversation, inviting me here, giving me all the insights, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for having me.